Well, good afternoon and welcome to Drive Facebook Live. This is Bob Spitz with my partner Tony Whistler, and joining us today is Javier Najera from Trace Amigos in San Jose and his consultant Gibran down in Miami. Hello, guys. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Javier, I wanted to start off the show, and for those who don't know you, I've known you a long time. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where your shop is? I said San Jose, but the kind of shop you have and all of that.
Definitely, yes. So most people don't know San Jose just because you mentioned it like that. And I always say we're 50 miles south of San Francisco. So that's San Jose, that's Silicon Valley. The name of the shop is Tres Amigos. And there's a long story behind that. So let's not get into that right now because we can spend another hour here. So it's my brother and I, we own it. We've owned this business early 1990s. We started it, the idea born where we are from, Chihuahua, Mexico. So that's where we come from, with the idea already implanted in the back of our head. And we started the business here as a mom and shop. We were just catering to people that were stranded on the side of the road, and it just grew on until we opened up a shop down the road.
So you started out like emergency service.
That is correct. Yeah, he was on one service truck, I was on another one, and we had another guy on a third truck.
So all mobile.
All mobile.
Yeah, cool.
No, I didn't know that. I thought you always started with a shop. Now you've also expanded. You're not just retail. You also work with some fleets, don't you?
90% of what we do is fleet, yes. And that's another thing that people always look, you're in San Jose, are you doing Porsches and Ferraris? No.
Not everybody drives a Porsche or a Ferrari in San Jose. Yeah.
That's right. So surprisingly enough, we work mainly on commercial trucks, Ford F-150 trucks, all the way up to medium-duty trucks, F600s. So we do a little bit of diesel here, the Isuzu trucks as well. Yeah, so you'll see majority of time, you'll see trucks here in our shop.
Yeah. Well, your shop is located in the heart of Silicon Valley, and that has changed so much from the days when I lived down in Monterey and worked in the industry as a Saab dealer. And I always remembered San Jose as a place I drove through on my way to San Francisco and all the orange groves.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like that left here anymore. There's actually, I mean, the real estate, I'm sure, is expensive everywhere. But there was a joke going around a couple of years back, a house that was burned down to the ground, going for $1 million.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Got a chimney
Now,
and a foundation.
Now,
Yes.
Javier, you know this better than most. Owning and running a shop in California, an automotive repair shop, takes a very high level of management skill. And for one of the reasons why is California shops have to deal with something called the BAR, the Bureau of Automotive Repair, known as the shop cops.
Correct.
And they're an interesting breed. I mean, they're part of consumer affair, and I understand that they're needed, but they can be a challenge. You recently had an experience with them, didn't you?
We did, yes. So we were having lunch, my brother and myself upstairs, and then one of my guys comes kind of out of breath and is like, "What's going on?" He's like, "There's 4 guys and there's 4 people downstairs looking for you." I'm like, "Okay, so am I in trouble? What's going on?" He's like, "No, they're just there asking for you, and they're asking all these weird questions." So that's right. It was 4 people. 2 of them were from the state. One was from the Employment Development Department. The other one was from the tax division. And then 2 were the department that you just described, which is the BAR. So it was very agitated. There was a lot of questions that they wanted me to answer. So I can elaborate on part of that if you want me to, Bob.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So the first portion of the interview, kind of like that. But before I even answer any of the questions, I asked them, "What's going on? Why are you guys here?" And they wouldn't say much. And then I asked again, is there something that I need to know? And they're like, "Nope, this is just a routine inspection." Okay, fair enough. So the lady that was from the employment development department wanted me to answer all kinds of questions as such. Do we have everyone on payroll? Do we pay the taxes on time? Do we have everyone clocking in and out on punch cards? So she wanted to see that, and she even took a picture of my the place where we have all of that stored. Um, and then she asked to interview one of my guys to ask similar questions. And I was like, no, I don't have a problem with that. She wanted to interview two guys, and I said, okay, so you can have him. And then when I went to get for the other one, I guess the shield went down at that time because I asked, okay, so Tony, come and then answer some questions for the lady. She says, no, that's good. I'm good. All right. So that was that first portion of it. And then the two gentlemen, the BAR department, they asked right away, can I see a couple of invoices? Sure. So I pulled two of the invoices, and one was for fleet and the other one was for retail. And so they were looking and looking while the other lady was still questioning me. They were going up and down, and I was like, what are they looking for? For anything and everything that they can find.
That's right.
And so it came down to the point to where, like, okay, so how do you get the approvals? And how does people know how do you get what you're gonna end up doing for their vehicles? Well, there's a signature here because we have the paper when we the taking form, and so we ask what do they want, and we write all of that down, and then we ask for a signature on the bottom, and then we do the inspection. We use auto vitals, so that's very nice inspection on that. And at that point, I explained to the gentleman we would send the inspection via either text or email. They'll review it, and then we'll go over it with them and give them a quote at that point. And alongside with Autobots, we have also TechMetric. So TechMetric has a really nice feature to where if they have 1, 2, or 3 systems that we are working on, they are gonna either accept or decline the labor. And so by that way, there's nothing hidden. And they were still asking more questions at that point. And when they asked more questions, I said, okay, so let me show you how this is done. We have a big screen on the front. And so I pulled one of the inspections and I showed them, okay, so customer comes in, brings the vehicle, we go through it, we take pictures, we take measurements, and the technicians make all the notes there. And as I was going through it, they became now more interested on the product that we were using, on the systems that we are using. And so that's when I said, great, thank you, Drive. This is where, this is where, yeah, because I mean, even though the products that we're using, they're not related directly with Drive, everything behind it, all the ideas, all the core ideas came from those classes that I've taken with you guys.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, Auto Vitals fashioned their whole software against our processes. You know, I remember talking to Uwe about that. So that's great. Well done. Because, you know, they show up. Sometimes it's because a competitor complained or an employee complained or a customer complained, someone complained, and they tend to show up. But they tend to only go after the more successful shops.
Yeah. They're the ones that are noticeable. Hey, I have a
That
question.
little guy with one bay, they don't care about him.
That's right.
Yeah.
So would you describe it as feeling somewhat adversarial when it first began? And did it actually get to the point where they were fairly impressed with you, or did it remain adversarial through the whole process?
About 75% of the process of the interview with the two gentlemen was very adversarial. One of them was like the older gentleman was like, "Yeah, I got it, I understand." And there was a younger fellow. He was like, "No, but no, but no, but," and I was like, "Okay, let me show you." That's what I said. Let me show you, because if I don't show you, then you're not gonna understand what I'm trying to go get across the point. And there's another piece of information that we use here to it actually came out of last year's interviews with all the when we asked the employees, what do you think? What should we do better? Things like that. One thing that came up a lot is we need to have better communication. And I was like, duh, yeah, we only need to have better communication. So I wrote on the board, on a whiteboard that we have there, I wrote the communication, and then I broke it down into pieces and broke it into 3 different areas. So the service advisor right in the middle, the technician to the right, and the customer to the left. So everything we do, I explain to them, it's to inform and to educate the customer. By the time the customers finish with our process, they're very well educated on what the vehicle needs, and they've made a sound decision on what the vehicle was going to be having done. And with that right there in front of us, they were like, "Okay, now I get it. Thank you for showing me," they said.
That's great. So you had said that training had a lot to do with it with Drive. You want to share anything with any of the guys that are listening about your experiences with the actual training with Drive?
Definitely, yeah. The one that I always get back to is controlling the front. That class, and there's one liner. I don't recall who I got it from, but it's on that line. It's on that class, and it says control equals income.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're always like, okay, control equals income. So let me count my pennies. I'm like, no, it's not about that.
Right.
It's not about counting the money. It's about controlling every single thing that we do in the shop. Everything has to be controlled, because if we don't control it, then we won't be able to get it better, to do better ourselves. So control equals income's always been since when the first time I was about 200 years ago when I took that class.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, no, and that's a true statement. That's absolutely true. 70% of a shop's profit can be eaten up with inefficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And control in the front is all about how do you control every aspect of that flow from key to key to increase efficiency, downtime, and increase shop flow, customer count.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
You've
Hey,
mentioned
Gibran.
something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on,
Yes,
Javier.
you've mentioned something, Bob, that they only go after the small, not after the small guys, those guys of the BAR. So I always thought about something. The back of my head is like when you open up a shop, I guess that may be true for the whole United States. But when you open up a shop, you're playing with the big boys right away, right away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Gibran,
Absolutely.
how long have you been with Javier?
On and off, 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Yep. Very good. And did you have any questions for Javier?
No, I mean, I think, the biggest thing as being his coach is implementing things into the shop. And, as a coach, I have to find out the way he thinks, which fortunately he thinks the same way I think, which is
That's
very,
handy.
yeah,
Very
it's handy. We're both very, very methodical, step by step, but we don't think linear. I don't know if that makes sense. We can think not, it's like, it's not just go, it's one way and that's the way it is. We can
Right.
think, we can put different aspects of parts of the workflow or things like that that I can communicate to him. He understands it, but at the end of the day, it comes down to him implementing it. And I mean, personally, he just takes it to another level of implementing it. You know what I mean? He's very thorough. He actually goes, does all of the steps necessary. But also he's training his crew. Like right now, he's got two, his bookkeeper and an assistant going through the mastering shop finances. So he doesn't have to explain what he has implemented into the business. So that's another thing that he has done. He's training his crew on the systems that he has implemented. That makes it easier.
Right, and mastering finance is running right now too. So do you have your guys in there right now? They're this week,
the ladies.
next week. Yeah,
that's
great.
I saw them. No, that's great. You brought up an important point in being successful, especially in a state like California. It's not enough that just the owners understand how the business must run, but you have to train your team. You have to have an ongoing training program. So with all the changes that are happening, and in Silicon Valley, you're apt to see more changes with hybrids and electrics. How are you keeping up on training your technicians to stay on top of it all?
Yeah, that's a big challenge. And we're not trying to avoid it at all, because some of our accounts, they already are running on some F-150, what are they called, Lightnings, those electric trucks.
Yeah, the Lightning.
Yeah, so they are driving them around. There's a lot of complaints. I mean, therefore, what can you expect? Some people love it.
Now, hold on, Javier. I am a Ford fan.
I am too. Yeah. I love Fords because they keep our doors occupied.
Cha-ching.
But yeah, and so we've been going through trainings, and that's the next level of training, and so that's a challenge. That is a challenge, and that's something that we still need to cover our bases on. By no means we're no experts on this game. We're learning as we go, every day. One thing that we always try to accommodate in our culture, if you will, my brother and I, there's two things that we go by. And that's our family values and our faith, Christian values, 100%. So that's one of the things that we always tell the guys when we're interviewing them for a position. And sometimes I see them never come back, and sometimes I see them open up big eyes like, "Wow, I found a house, I found my home." So I think it's better from day one not to hide who you are. And being training, I always am training. How do you feel about getting trained on someone? If I hear, well, I already know it all, then okay, thank you.
Yeah, go work at a restoration shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somewhere else. And it all comes down to our who we are and our mission statement. And Gibran, Nancy, and I were working on our mission statement one day, and I was just thinking, and I went home, and I came across a piece that you guys might have heard about it. There's this janitor cleaning, and Mr. Kennedy comes along, and he asks him, "So what do you do here?" "Mr. President, I work here to put a man on the moon." So I was like, wow, that really hits home. How can we implement that into our area? So our mission statement is like that. We work hard to keep the roads safe, one vehicle at a time, for your family and ours, to bring our family safe. When we work on your vehicle is going to be safe to travel.
Yeah, No, and that's a great mission statement, and that's a fabulous purpose to have. It can't be all about just making money. It's got to be a stronger purpose than that. And you brought up an interesting point where you find technicians that are finally say, "Oh, wow, I found a home." And an interesting article in one of the trade magazines this past year was on technicians job hopping
Mhm.
and going from shop to shop. And one of the things that through surveys they found that the technicians were looking for a home. They were looking for a shop that shared their culture or their values, that allowed them to practice their skills in an organized, orderly fashion. And it makes such a big difference to having a great team and a great culture.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't turn over too. That's the main thing. Because like obviously money's important, but it isn't for many, many people, it's not the most important thing. And if you can align that with your guys, it's great.
Yeah, and that's why on the shop policy apprenticeship, one of the first steps is to come up with your vision and mission for your shop, and that's where Javier and I worked on that. Because when we first started, I think his mission statement was like like 3 paragraphs long. And I was like,
I had to pare that down a little bit.
so
Yeah,
exactly.
we gotta keep it simple, right?
It's less than 5 lines now.
It's fine.
Very nice.
So it's yeah, it got reduced, but it helps because when you write your policies or when you everything that you do, you run it through that filter, and then you can see, does it contribute to that? If it does, you implement. If it doesn't, don't implement it. If that employee has those values, good, hire him. If he doesn't, good.
Don't.
If don't, if somebody does something that it goes against your policy, but did that break that value? Did that break that mission statement? Did it contribute to it or it didn't? If it didn't, rid of it. If it did, write him up and move on. It makes it really simple to once you realize what that mission and vision is, it just makes everything flow much easier.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things about our workshop, the Essentials of Shop Management, which is usually one of the first ones our clients will do. We spend a lot of time in the beginning going through that. And now what I've noticed is we have a lot of employees that are doing that workshop as well. And one of the great things about that is it opens their eyes to the idea that they need to be in alignment with what the owner's vision is. And we can really help employees in that class to really understand, hey, I'm part of this team. I've got to align myself with what the owner's vision is and what his goals and purposes are. And when that happens, it's really great. So the class is great for owners and for employees. You've done that class too, right, Javier?
I have.
Yep.
I think, Javier, you've done just about everything we have
Yeah.
over the last 100 years.
I thought it was 200, he said. I thought it was
Well, 200 was an exaggeration. 100 is closer.
100 is close.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's close.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been around a while.
Yep.
Yeah, and we very much appreciate you as a client. You're a wonderful example of what can happen when you actually implement the principles and put the systems in place. Because it's the old story: you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So
I have
you
tried that.
Yeah, you've tried
I
that.
have
Tried
that.
not drinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very successful. So
Yeah.
where do you see yourself now, Javier, in next 5 years or so?
So we're not getting any younger, and you can kind of see on my gray hair. My brother and I, we're starting to think about exit plan and have Tony, his son, maybe take over here within the next 5 years. So succession, that's going to be the plan. And one of the things that we're thinking also, we still don't own the building, and so we're talking to the gentleman who owns this piece of land to see if he would consider on the next round of leasing, lease to own. So that's the two things that we're looking into.
Cool.
Yeah, well, that'd be a very big commitment in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Yeah. And Tony is working in the shop now?
He's a service advisor. Yes.
Oh, good. So he likes the business.
Yes. Yes.
Well, then you guys are lucky that you have a next generation coming up that is interested in the business.
Yes, that very much. Yes. And yeah, I have two little boys. They're too small to know whether they're gonna stick around or not. They're only 7 and 8, so that's just a long shot for them.
Yeah. No, you can't have them doing anything in California
Nah,
until they're
nah.
18.
I was going to say, get them through elementary school before you pitch them on running the shop.
I don't know. I don't know. Tony, my nephew, I think he was 6 years old when we first went to the first class ever in Glendale.
Hmm.
And he was around all the doors, and he's like, "Who's this little kid running around? He's taking classes."
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I'm going to take a moment now for a commercial break and announce that next Wednesday, the 13th, there's going to be a live webinar, and you can see that on our Facebook page. And David Saline and Mike Button from Affordable Automotive in Chico, California, are going to be talking about setting goals and setting yourself up for 2024 and how to make 2024 the best year you've ever had. And also in the chat, you'll see the link to the expo, and you can see we're not shy about promoting that. It's behind all our heads.
Exactly.
And be sure to sign up for the next expo. Javier, I've seen you at a number of expos. What do you think about the expo?
I think it's a great time to release some of the stress from the shop. And if I'm so lucky that I have my brother to go to those expos, we always take a moment or two, more than a moment, to sit down and talk about goals, and they just look around and talk to the other people that we already know, that we've became friends with for such a long time, such as all of you guys are my friends.
Yeah, you are a friend too. Yeah, so the networking is usually very good at the expo, getting to meet with other shop owners from around the country and hearing what they're doing and how business is in their areas.
Yeah, and I always bring at least one or two things back home with me.
That's
Sure.
great.
Yeah, it re-energizes you, that's for sure, to be around like-minded people. Because, you know, we have that old joke, the great thing about owning your own shop is there's no one there to tell you what to do. But the horrible thing about owning your own shop is there's no one there to tell you what to do.
Tell you what to do. Exactly. I just wanted to add one thing about the webinar next week. Many of the services we've talked about here have been their services that we provide to our clients who are with us. This webinar is completely wide open. So if you, and I'm hoping that someone put the link in there because it's wide open to anyone. So if you're just watching this and you're not a Drive client, you want to experience this webinar, please grab the link and come see us on Wednesday.
Yeah. Gibran, we've got a couple of minutes left here. Any parting words about working with experienced shops and the difference between that and working with a brand new shop?
That, you know, after being here since 2015, I learned that even if they're new shops, to go hard on putting in the basics, you know, making sure that get all the legal stuff it's in place, making sure that all those things, because I could be helping a shop owner making great money, but if they come on board and they haven't paid their sales tax for a couple of years, which I have,
which has happened, I know.
Which has happened.
Yes, it has.
You know, I mean, we can do miracles, but you know,
that's a heck of a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you gotta catch up on that, and then the other thing is, if you're new to Drive, just be open with your coach. Like, tell them everything. Like, we're not gonna judge you.
That's great advice. One more announcement. Next Facebook Live is December 15th, and it's going to be ladies' night. So we're going to have Chris Probst from Bill's Crestmore in Colorado, and we're going to have Daniel Gray of Oreo Automotive, and they're going to talk about what it's like being women owners of shops in an industry that is, you know, primarily men. So, and we'll have some nice conversations there.
Yeah. Well, Javier, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to see you again, my friend. G-Man,
Thank you.
have a good time down in Miami.
You.
We'll see you
And
guys.
happy holidays, you guys.
Happy holidays.
Yeah,
Same
you
to
too.
you.
Okay,
All right.
we're
Feliz
out.
Navidad.
Okay, see you guys.
Bye.